So listen, I had a long conversation today. I had a long conversation with a good friend of mine, and so we were talking about vaccination, not vaccination, etc. And I was explaining to him that I got vaccinated and no, nothing special and good, etc. And he was explaining to me that he was not interested in being vaccinated. And I was like, it's your choice, it's up to you. But what we were debating about was not him trying to convince me or me trying to convince him to be vaccinated. Ce sont pas des nanas, ce sont des femmes. Voyons. Nana. Il n'y a que des femmes ici, des femmes fatales. Joking. So, and the conversation was this. In his opinion, being vaccinated must stay a choice. And we went back and forth for 5 hours about in this conversation. When we were basically, for him, he doesn't want to for now because of it's too early and then there's not enough time between the creation of the vaccine and etc. And I was telling him, I understand everything you're saying, but at a point people have to take a leap of faith because it has been deemed safe. But of course, for him it was like, yeah, but they can say that, but it doesn't mean nothing. There's not enough data, etc. And I was like, yeah, listen, I understand what you mean. It's still been 100 million people vaccinated, and for now this is the only weapon we have. And I mean, our conversation was not about should he do it or not, because like I told him, that's his choice. But because of the measure that the French president has decided to take, we now end up in in France, they end up in a situation where, and that's the thing about French people in general, French government. When you go to the metro, you take the metro, the subway in New York, there's a policeman guarding the door. And the doors are hard they have some kind of special doors that is very hard to jump or to pass. Like if you don't have a ticket, it's kind of hard to trick the system, right? And in those stations where it's easy to enter without your ticket, usually there's police in there. There's police in there telling you, showing you that if you don't pay your fare, you're gonna get arrested, or you're gonna get you're gonna have to pay a ticket. In the UK, when you go to the subway, there's an employee of the security that is also watching everybody that comes in and out. In case somebody has the good idea to not pay and try to get in, you usually have people that are there to enforce the fact that people must pay to enter. Same thing for example, in Portugal, when you enter a place where there's when you're on the road and you enter an area when there's a radar, speed trap, usually you're gonna have a big signal telling you that you are entering a zone where they are monitoring your speed, and usually people slow down. Same thing in the UK. When you are in a zone where there's a radar, you have places, they tell you, and because they decide in the law that the role is not to deceive people, the role is to protect people. In France, when you go to the subway, there's nobody to prevent you from jumping the gates and entering without a ticket. But then there's somebody who's dressed as a normal person who's like, yeah, black guy, green shirt, glasses, bald head. And then in the corridor, hidden, are the agents that are waiting to catch you. Or when you are in a place when there's a radar, the radars is usually hidden somewhere or behind a tree or it's behind you. And it feels like the French have these ways of using the things that they use to protect people, and they use it to make money. They use it to trick people into thinking that they can't disobey the law so that they can catch you. And then they make you pay. And it's something that whenever I traveled, and for example, I was in New York and I go to the subway and I see there's a cop there watching everybody. If you try to trick, you can try to trick and enter without paying, he comes to you straight. Get out or you have to pay. In France, they love to hide. And it's a real difference of mentality. And here, the problem is not that they believe that the only way is to protect the people in general, in terms of society. The only way is to get 90% of the people vaccinated so that the virus doesn't penetrate anymore. The problem here is the way they do it. Again, they do it the French way. They're gonna not tell you you have to do it. They're gonna tell you, you do what you want, but then you can't do nothing. And it's so contrasted with here. Here in Portugal, I believe that soon as the vaccine was available, people from the government got it. People from everybody that worked in hospital and stuff had to get it. I don't know if it was mandatory, but they were like the first to be, because they are in line to protect them. They had to get vaccinated because they are in contact with the virus way more than all of us. What up, CCIL? And then, listen, it was everybody over 65, and then it was and then it was my age group last month, and now it's 23. And we don't have those debates because the things that the government is telling us is clear. And when I was in Turkey, every time you want to enter a shopping center, you had to have your QR code. You could not enter no shopping without your QR code. Restaurants you could, but big places with a lot of people like shopping center, you could not get in if you didn't have. And everybody had their QR code in their phones ready to get in. And I mean, there was machines and security in front of every in the opening entrance of the shoppings. And you just scan your thing, the machine tells you that you're clear and you go in. Same thing in China, etc. And at that time, the French people, when I was watching the different shows, they keep telling, we're not like the Chinese because it's a totalitarian place and people don't have a choice, people don't have free will, blah, 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 blah. We're a free country, there's things we cannot do. But then in the end, you try to do this in just a hidden way. Instead of saying you don't have a choice, you tell people you have a choice. But if you choose the wrong thing, you cannot do nothing. And that's the kind of hypocrisy that I don't like with sometimes this government. They're scared to tell the truth to people. Tell it like it is. Listen, I don't mind if people say, listen, it's simple. Vaccination is now, it's been proven. Here are the reason why you should trust us, etc., etc. For all these people, it's gonna be mandatory to go in all these places. It's gonna be mandatory, and there you go. But you know, that's how they like to do it, and this is why people whenever I talk to people who are my friends who come from Paris, they are so, they're angry. They don't believe in nothing. They don't believe in nothing the government say. They don't believe nothing about the virology, the doctors say. Like everything that they say, they want to question. Everything is, no, we won't do it. No, we won't. No, we won't. And here, I don't see all these problems. Some people are scared. Some people have the same, but it's not something that when you're gonna go on TV, you're gonna have like people who are dividing the public opinion, and you have all these craziness on Twitter, etc., etc. And I believe in the conversation we were having with Jair was that his point of view was the point of view of individual liberty. This is my body, and I want to decide what I'm going to do with it. And me, I was telling him that for every individuality will have their reaction to the rules. But when you live in a society, there's going to be rules for everybody. And I was giving him examples of, for example, he was telling me that when you drive a bus, because he's a bus driver in Paris, when you drive a bus, sometimes in the middle of your course, if on the other side there's, for example, let's say there's traffic, and there's the other side, there's like people are waiting for 30 minutes for the next bus because it's too far, it's stuck somewhere. Sometimes they will tell you there's another bus coming out, there's another bus coming in the back. So next stop, you drop everybody in your bus and you tell them that they have to go to the bus that is coming, and then you go back on the other way around, so you can start picking up the people and don't do the congestion. And the person who's seeing the map of all the buses, and he's having they're doing the control, like it's just like trains, and you have somebody in the control room. They know exactly where every bus is, every train is, etc. That person can see the things that not everybody is seeing. And of course, when you have to do that and you tell people that you have to get out and take the next that is coming in 1 minute, some people will be pissed. But on our conversation, I was telling him that most people, they see themselves as the passenger who was seated, and they're like, what? Why should I change bus? But when you are ruling a country and people put you in charge of ruling that country, you have to take decisions for the greater good of everybody. And then some people will be pissed, some people will be happy, and some people will say that he's mass control, some people will say this, some people will say that, and everybody has their right to believe what they believe. But still, somebody has to take decisions, because if people don't take decisions, it's chaos. And I was not telling him who's right, who's wrong, because I don't know. I mean, I have my opinions, but to me, it's not a question of who's right, who's wrong, because depending on what you believe or what you want to do, you believe that somebody's right, somebody's wrong. But the thing is this: if you elect somebody to take the decisions and this person is bad at his job, you go vote in the next elections to have a new person to replace him. But until then, that person takes the decisions. And if whatever decision he takes you don't want to agree with, you become outlaw, because that's how democracies work. And we weren't going back and forth for hours about his point of view was not the people decide. But I was like, you're not talking about the people, you're talking about yourself. And me, I was like, the people decide for their individual choices, but society has to put rules. For example, you don't walk naked in the streets. And people could say, oh, listen, back in the days, or in the, I don't know, 1,000 years ago, people were walking bare naked in the streets and nobody cared, or I don't know. Or you could kill people and it was like that. It was the law of, like, if somebody took your girl, you could just come and say, oh, je te défie en duel. And then you come with your guns and you kill the person, and everybody's like. And those things change because societies decide rules, and we might not agree with some of them, but if this is what rules are, it's a rule of how we live together, all together. And we are coming to a society where, I mean, when I was talking about the French society, of course, but in the US, it looks the same as well, where it's becoming where some people are deciding that because they don't agree with society, they're deciding their own rules now. And that might lead to chaos, because now people don't trust the news, don't trust the government, and it's their fault sometimes. And they trust what they receive on WhatsApp. And sometimes they send me stuff. Some stuff are very interesting to read, but some stuff you're like, how can you believe that shit? You know? But then it's me. And so it's very interesting to have this conversation, and it's interesting because I don't have these conversations with people here. I only have these conversations with people that come from France. And it means that the government is doing a bad job in explaining the people how to get out of ideology, dogmas, and coming together for something that is so important. Why? Because they want to look good. They want to, and like I said, when you have a country where people prefer letting you do the past the gates of the subway, and then they catch you after so they can make you pay, rather than prevent you by being there, it's already the problem. It's the problem of how some societies work. And now we have a new thing. It's like, we have social media where anybody can talk. So I have a YouTube channel. I have already 200 people who pass by this show right now. So I could come into my 200 people. I could start telling them everything I want about COVID, how it is, what will happen if you get vaccinated, etc., and I could spread what I believe that is true. When back in the days, it was just, there was like 2 channels or 3 channels per country. So everybody had the same language, and it was easier to control population and to tell them lies if they needed to be fed lie, or the opposite. And now people can get their information where they want. And Listen, having conversation with my friends from France is exhausting, not because I disagree with them, but because the everything they argue about is based on emotions and less on facts. I don't want to do it because I feel like I feel, and you feel like you're in a Twitter conversation or in a YouTube chat room where people only talk about what they feel, and nobody cares about fact. Everybody is about conspiracies. Everybody's about, oh, it's because of this, or I'm sure. And I mean, listen, before I get vaccinated, I started reading and researching about the vaccine that I wanted to take for the last 7 months, 8 months, since December, when they said they found. I was like, okay. I start reading about the technology that they use, how it works. I start going to the people who are for, those who are against, but not the crazy people, not the people who, no, not the people telling me that I'm gonna turn an alien, or I'm gonna have my phone, I'm vaccinated, my phone is gonna be stuck to my, oh my God, look,